Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Without further ado, let's get into the draft. There are no really good, really premium monocolored cards in the pack, so I think we're going to go a little bit narrow with our pack one, pick one. There's like a fine removal spell with Idol, a fine creature with Plundering Pirate. These are both kind of later picks. I think those are my favorite kind of monocolored cards in the pack. I think the best cards though are Molten Collapse in black-red and a Cootseal in green-white, and I think green-white is significantly better than black-red in this format. So I'm going to go with the Cootseal Malamet Exemplar, which is excellent with +1/+1 counters or equipment or anything like that to get you to draw a bunch of cards off of this body. It also just randomly shuts off instants completely, which can play super well depending on the matchup. So some extra value from that text as well. Pack 1, pick 2, Jade Seedstones is a great follow-up to Cootseal because you're going to be able to put +1/+1 counters wherever you need them across the board, and that's going to trigger the cards that care about creatures with having more than their base power, or power greater than their base power. So that's pretty nice. Plus, the Seedstones is just a great value play. It's kind of like a 7-mana 7/7 that helps stabilize you with a bunch of life gain. That comes with this cheaper adventure to also buff your board in the early game. So I'll take the Seedstones here. But there's another reasonable card here with the Diamond Pickaxe if we want to push towards red. Obviously, that doesn't go with our Cootseal, but you don't have to be immediately tied with your pack 1, pick 1. I think these are the best two cards in the pack, though. The Curator, you just really need a lot of Discover to go with it, and I don't think that generally is going to happen often. Pack 1, pick 3 is excellent for us. A little sad to see a Waterwind Scout. That's a great sign for blue, but Clay-Fired Bricks and Duskrose Reliquary are both excellent options for white towards our green-white deck here. I think I'm going to go with the Clay-Fired Bricks. It really helps make sure we keep hitting lands throughout the game. It's going to be an additional land draw just right when we play it, and it's going to be another big 7-drop, so it's really good with cards like the Jade Seedstones that also want to get to really high mana, so I like the Clay-Fired Bricks here, but Duskrose Reliquary for some cheap interaction. Also pretty good. You just need to really make sure you have some expendable stuff to sacrifice to this, which is usually done with a bunch of map tokens and treasure tokens, and I think green-white is kind of the worst color pair for Duskrose Reliquary because the only thing you can really get in this color pair to sacrifice towards that is going to be like 1/1 gnome tokens off of a couple of the white commons, but that's about it. So if we take this, we'd have to take specifically just like the gnome producers super highly, like Tinker's Tote. It's a little awkward to see the Tinker's Tote here. Wow, this is just an insane draft. Wow, these are some high quality packs. We've got Waterwind Scout, Inverted Iceberg, and Tinker's Tote here. I'm just going to keep going where we're going, take the Tinker's Tote, but these blue commons are just as good, if not a little bit better. These cards are insane. I think Waterwind Scout's probably the best card in the pack, but Tinker's Tote isn't massively far away from that, and it plays really well with craft with artifact cards like Clay-Fired Bricks, giving you 3 artifact permanents off of the 1 spell. And if we see more like Duskrose Reliquary style removal, that is exactly the kind of card you want with that. For pick 5, we now get a Petrify for a super solid white removal spell, and this pack looks like a pretty good sign for white. The best cards are Petrify, Waylaying Pirates, and Saheeli's Lattice. So pretty happy to see that. Pick number 6. Things are starting to get a bit dry at this point. We'll take the Watley's Final Strike, I guess. I find that Helping Hand is a little bit too narrow. You sometimes draw it early in the game with no creatures in grave yet, and it might just get stuck in your hand all game, which is pretty bad when that happens. We'll just take a Final Strike here, I guess. Herald Scout's probably the best card, just a decent blue value play, but blue has so many incredible commons and uncommons that it often just doesn't even make the cut, because there's so many better things to do in the color. Pick 7, Staggering Size is an excellent combat trick, +3/+3 trample for only 2 mana, can sometimes just end the game by trampling over and dealing lethal to your opponent, but it also just almost always wins combat against whatever your opponent's trying to block and trade with. So we'll take the Staggering Size here over these really high mana value dinosaurs. They're both fine because they have the land cycling as well if you don't have the mana to cast them, but I think Staggering Size is just certainly better. This is a format that is pretty low to the ground, pretty efficient. It's all about cheap little spells and interaction, and Staggering Size fits that bill really well. Pick 8, the best card is Goblin Tomb Raider for just some red artifact-based aggro, and it's not particularly close. I don't think any of the other cards are really good at all, except maybe Neek and Zeal for Green-Blue Explorer, but I don't think we're likely to end up there. I think we're pretty committed to green-white at this point, and we've got some really high-quality cards towards that deck. So I don't really see any reason to be jumping around and speculating elsewhere, so I'll just take one of the filler on-color cards, the Soaring Sandwing here. Maybe the 2-mana 2/2 just to make sure we can have like 5 2-mana creatures to curve out with would have been a reasonable option as well. Take a Cartographer's Companion. I really don't want to make the cut. I'm definitely taking it over that combat trick because our non-creature count is already pretty massively high. We've already got Petrify, Staggering Size, and Final Strike, which are all just better than that white combat trick that was in that pack. Pick number 10. Bunch of doo-doo butt. I don't think anybody wants. Take a Burning Sun Cavalry. Maybe some weird stuff happens and we open up an incredible red dinosaur in pack 2. And then we go green-red dinos. Where that 2-mana 2/2 can often attack and block as a 3/3. Pick 11 Tomb Raider is wild. That's like the only red card that keeps bouncing around. I'm just going to take another Staggering Size. I've made my bet, I'll lie in it here. Okay, we're not playing any of these green cards because they're all just bad. I guess Malamet Scythe works fine in this archetype, giving us a creature with higher power than its base power. Alright, pack 2, pick 1, what do we get? Decent stuff, the Thrashing Bronodon probably the best, just beefy card for the mana cost and its main deckable artifact enchantment removal, in a format that has tons of artifacts and a few enchantments. Actually, are there a few enchantments? Yeah, there's like Petrifies and stuff, so yeah. Take the Bronodon here, but the Aspirant is good for this archetype because of that +1/+1 counter it gives us, and Kin Color can be okay if we get a high enough dino count. But we'll take the Brontodon. Pack 2, pick 2. They took a common here. I mean, I guess the rare and the uncommons are all pretty narrow. Wow, this pack's actually just really bad. I think Deadweight and Necromage are like the only good cards, so like the black player's happy, and everybody else is just like, I guess I'll take Unlucky Drop for the blue player, and like I guess I'll take Envoy for the green-white player. It's like a 7-mana card draw engine. It just feels a little too slow. Pack 2, pick 3. More decent black with a removal spell and this creature that trades into giving you a bunch of fungi. Okay, red card with the Militia. Not a ton in green-white. There's one removal spell with Whirlpool, but it's a whole bunch of mana. I think I prefer our Petrify to this. Final Strike, I'm not sure. Final Strike is like comparable, I'd say. I'm just going to take a Malamet Brawler and make sure I've got some 2-mana 2/2s in here. Ooh, pick 4 Warden of the Inner Sky? Well, it feels good to be in white, I guess. 1 mana 1/2. You do have to tap 3 permanents to put counters on this thing, but once you've done that 3 times, this is a 4/5 flying vigilance that can keep getting bigger from there if you want to. Card is nuts. A little sad to have to take it over Petrify. Seeing all the good white clumped up here is a little awkward, because I don't think anybody took a white card in the first 3 picks on our left here, if the Warden is still here. So I guess that was just the white cards that got opened. Pack 2, pick 1, pick 2, and pick 3. There just wasn't really anything for us, sadly. Man, I want to get passed from this direction again in pack 3. They're just going to load me up with the white spells. We'll take the Petrify this time around. Pick number 6. Cosmium Blast is kind of filler. I don't want the 2-mana 1/3 though. Like, technically, if you get 4 or more permanents in your graveyard, then this will automatically trigger your cards like Kutzil. But Kutzil is the only card in our deck that cares about having a creature with higher power than their base power, and we have plenty of ways to trigger it anyway. So I'm just going to take Cosmium Blast. It takes a long time to get Descend 4 without any self-mill, and we're not going to play any self-mill in green-white. Okay, wow. Feels good. to be drafting white. Get an Old Tech Cloud Guard pick 7, which is such a good card that it almost feels like we'll probably get some good white in pack 3 as well, even though we're going to get passed from the opposite direction. Right, like these players are definitely not in white. Someone over here, 1 or 2 of these probably are, but pick 7 means some of those players on the right side of the draft pod saw the Cloud Guard as well. Not all of them, but a couple. All right, pick number 8, I guess, goes to Gym Guard. I am not going to play a Walk with the Ancestors. Get the Iron Paw Aspirants all the way around the table. Come on in, join the party. I need some more 2-drops. Okay, these are like 7 mana creatures. We got the Whirlpool all the way around. There was very little white. These were those first picks where the white cards were just all pretty weak. We got them to come back. I'm not going to have enough dinos to want to play the Lore Keeper. It's only dinosaur mana. Doesn't cast anything else. Wow, I'm happy to be white. I don't think we're going to end up playing both of these. We might not even play one by the end, because we've got Double Petrify, a Cosmium Blast, a Final Strike. Got major options for what interaction we want to run between removal spells and combat tricks. We even have variety in our combat tricks with 2 Staggering Size and 1 Malamet Scythe. That is a late Wanderglyph. Yeah, I've already got 4 better 3-drops. I'm not going to play the 3 mana 2/4. I'm just going to not give the red player a pick 14 Wanderglyph. I'm just going to be rude. That feels criminal. Okay, pack 3, pick number 1. We've got an Iron Paw Aspirant that will probably come back to us. A River Herald Guide that may or may not. And Dusk Rose Reliquary, that's probably the only one that won't come back. I think I'm going to take the Reliquary, even though I have all these other removal spells. I think this one is just so much more efficient, and we do actually have a Tinker's Tote and a Cloud Guard now to potentially make a Gnome to sack. The Aspirant's another card that can be fine to sacrifice if we put its counter elsewhere. So I think we actually have some of the tools to use Dusk Rose Reliquary, but we are seeing that kind of thing where this is the most awkward color pair for it. Right, like black-white makes these fungi, blue-white and red-white make treasure tokens and map tokens, but green-white it's like, I've got 2 gnome producers, and maybe I'll have a mediocre enough creature like Iron Paw Aspirant. But I still think it's better than the double Whirlpool, so we'll just immediately cut those and have the Dusk Rose Reliquary in here now. Pick 2. 1 card was taken out of this pack, and it's now all garbage in green and white, so really sad to see that. On the plus side, most of this pack's pretty garbage anyway. Atali's Favor, Minecart, and Everflowing Well are the best cards. Yeah, this pack's just weak. I'll take a Minecart, I guess. Don't even know if I'm going to try to run that. Alright, pack 3, pick 3. I like Axedraw. It's a really nice value play. 4 mana 4/3 that explores. Nice beefy threat as well. Surveyor's also really nice. Picking up a land when you play it. Got a couple good 7-drops to flip. Maybe grabbing that land for value is a little better than trying to draw it into our hand with the Axedraw. The Axedraw is definitely bigger for like attacking and blocking, but Surveyor's still fine. When you consider that you're pulling a land out alongside it, that kind of pays for the smaller body for the cost. I'm going to take the Surveyor here over the Axedraw. Pick 4, Old Tech Cloud Guard. Let's go. Feels good to be white. White is the correct color to be drafting at this pod. Now we get an Axedraw as well. Could take a Hidden Courtyard so the Surveyor can always pull out a cave. That would be pretty cute. But Axedraw definitely improves our deck running that over the Gem Guard here. And hopefully white is open enough that we get some of these random mediocre 2-drops back so we can fill out the curve later. Alright, here's a better 2-drop, the Attentive Sunscribe. I like Guarding the Great Door a good amount as well, but Sunscribe's like a really, really solid 2-drop, and we really need them on curve. The creatures on curve in this format, especially to improve our cards like Staggering Size. But yeah, Guardian's a great finisher, just Don't think we need more top end right now. We need more 2-drops badly, though. Lots of deconstruction hammers running around as well. Wow. What a draft pod. All right, we've got double Petrify and a Dusk Rose and a Cosmium Blast and a Final Strike. I'm not going to take another Petrify. Let's grab another Tinker's Tote, I suppose. And a pick 8, get another Tinker's Tote? We're going to be doing really well on tapping permanents for this Warden of the Inner Sky. We got the Iron Paw Aspirant to come back, which I need more 2-drops than 3-drops at this point because we just took 3 3-drops in a row. I'm not going to play any of this. Or any of this. Or any of this. Wow. Pick 13. I will play a Crack Shot over a Deconstruction Hammer, get our 5th 2-drop in this deck. And we might get a pick 14 Deconstruction Hammer anyway. Nope. Alright, so I'm not super confident. Oh. Okay, we get a last pick Deconstruction Hammer. I was wrong. We don't get a pick 14 Deconstruction Hammer, we get a pick 15 Deconstruction Hammer. That'll clear things up for us. I am highly confident that being in white in this draft pod is massively correct. We just really ended up in the perfect color there. Green, less so. Red-white was probably the best place to be. We kept seeing like Wanderglyphs and Tomb Raiders really late. So red-white over green-white, pivot off of the Coot Seal would have been the best position to be in. So if I had speculated more on the Tomb Raiders early, I think we could have ended up in that. So probably not drafted perfectly here. I think we could have seen the amount of red coming to us and made a pivot here. And that would have ended with definitely a bit of a better deck. But being in white means our deck's going to be awesome anyway. Like, no matter what secondary color we chose, if we chose the most contested secondary color, we'd be fine because we have all this white. So definitely drafted decently, but it certainly could have been better. I think it would have been... It was definitely possible to see that red was open enough, play a little bit more flexibly with our draft, and have ended up pivoting into red over the green. Because green cards just weren't coming back around nearly as often as red cards. So, yeah, not the perfect deck to end up in this draft pod, but still a very, very good one. I don't think we drafted particularly poorly or anything. It just could have been a bit better. I'll absolutely take that. I think this is a solid, solid deck. So we get to cut 8 cards here. We cut the Scythe, the Minecart, Gemguard, Archaeologists, just some of our most filler, some of my least favorite kind of cards here. I don't actually love the Deconstruction Hammer in this deck. It feels criminal not to play it because we got it pick 15. Like, you kind of have to. You're just, like, obligated to at that point. But I actually like the staggering sizes a bit better than the Deconstruction Hammer. And we don't have that much room for non-creature, non-removal spells. Right? The staggering sizes and the Deconstruction Hammer fill a pretty similar role, where they're making sure that our smaller creatures are able to still compete in combat once our opponent plays larger stuff. And I think the staggering size is just a little bit better for that surprise potential, the extra damage in one big swoop. Because, well, I guess if we consider Tinker's Tote and Clay-Fired Bricks to be creatures, how many non-creatures do we have in the deck then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? We can have like 6 or 7 non-creatures in the deck pretty easily, so we could just cut like Cosmium Blast and Final Strike here as the more narrow removal spells over Petrify and Reliquary. Reliquary ended up being incredible because we got the triple Tinker's Tote, so those synergize super well with it, and the Aspirants work great as well. If we had a different creature on the board to where we put the counter elsewhere, then we can sack the Aspirant to the Reliquary. Yeah, I think we've got... Reliquary is going to have a great time. The Reliquary and the Petrifies for sure. I prefer Cosmium Blast to Final Strike. What I really don't like about Final Strike is it's really hard to justify casting it when your opponent has mana up, because if they have their own instant speed removal spell, they can like abrade your creature in response. They kill your creature and counter your removal spell, or they can like bounce your creature in response with a Brackish Blunder or something. These kind of removal spells, it's really, really rough when your opponent has the mana up. It's not really a great time to cast them, which makes them pretty narrow. Like, they still work, definitely, if you don't have access to better removal spells, but we have access to better removal spells, so we'll use those. Yeah, I'll just go Reliquary Double Petrify, I think, because Staggering Size can also be leveraged as basically removal spells against blockers. Narrow removal spells, but Cosmium Blast is also narrow, so we can cut that, leverage the Staggering Sizes to eat some of our opponent's creatures out of nowhere, while also having 3 just straight-up removal spells. They're going to get rid of whatever we need to get rid of. So I think that's a solid count of interaction for this deck. And then we just cut 2 of our creatures, and we're golden. Probably drop the Soaring Sandwing. Still got some chunky top end between the Seed Stones and the Clay-Fired Bricks, as well as 2 ways to pull a land out of our deck with the Surveyor and the Bricks to get to that 7 mana. I don't know, also just exploring is always going to help get closer to a land, because if we need land towards these 7 mana craft abilities, and we hit a non-land, we can mill it to the Axe Draw. Kind of tempted with this aggressive curve with combat tricks and good cheap removal to keep the beefier creature over the Surveyor. Like, the Surveyor's better at just guaranteeing the land. It's going to hit the land every time, it's going to put it right onto the board. But the Axe Draw is beefier for actually attacking and blocking with, and it's still pretty good at helping hit a land. If we explore and we hit a land off of the Axe Draw, that's basically always going to be better for us than playing a Scampering Surveyor, because the odds of us having hit a land every single turn, to the point where, like, we've played 6 lands naturally by turn 6, that I've played 6 lands and put a 7th on the board for free with Surveyor, like, the odds of that are pretty low. Like, we'll probably have missed at least 1 land drop at some point, so that we can just play the land that the creature draws out of our hand and onto the board, instead of having to, like, put it directly on the board. Because the only thing we need to ramp up after 4 mana for is the 7 mana plays. So yeah, again, unless I've hit a land and played a land drop turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, putting the land onto the board instead of our hand is really no different. Because if I have an extra, if I have a turn where I haven't played my land drop yet, I can just put that land from my hand on the board. So Axe Draw is just strictly better in games where we've missed a land drop at some point. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut Sandwing and Surveyor here and go for the beefier card with the Axe Draw over the Surveyor. And it's looking pretty great to me. I think we will call it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at our final deck list for today. We're going to be on a green-white +1/+1 counters sort of build. There's really only one card that cares about getting +1/+1 counters around and getting combat tricks and equipment around the board. But if we do have creatures on board with higher power than their base power, then this Cootseal is going to be a huge card draw engine for us. So we have a lot of good synergies for that. Cards like Staggering Size, Deconstruction Hammer, Clay-Fired Bricks for the +1/+1 with the Cosmium Kiln, the Jade Seed Stones for +1/+1 counters. Tons of ways to make sure that this can be a great little card draw engine. So we've got that little sub-theme going on, but for the most part, your average looking green-white deck here, where we've got a great curve of aggressive creatures alongside some combat tricks to leverage to clear out some blockers and get some damage in. We've got just the best white commons in the format with some Ultec Cloud Guards at 4 mana alongside excellent interaction with a couple Petrifies and a Duskrose Reliquary. And we've even got an excellent bomb. The Warden of the Inner Sky is going to sit there getting +1/+1 counters and then attacking as a gigantic flying vigilant threat later in the game. We just really need to make sure we have enough permanence on our board to be tapping towards this to make it busted, but we can certainly do that. We've got a good creature count in this deck, along with some cards that make multiple permanents off of the one spell. The Old Tech Cloud Guard making a 3/2 flyer and a 1/1, and the 3 copies of Tinker's Tote making 3 permanents off of this one spell. So really solid looking deck today. Very excited to see how it does. Without further ado, let's head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for game 1. Solid curve, 2-drop into 3-drop. Do a Tinker's Tote turn 4, or we can grab a land if we need it. Our opponent starts with a turn 1 Scout, an excellent turn 1 play, just a 1-mana 1/1 that immediately drew them a card. Alternatively, it's a 1-mana 1/1 that gives them a +1/+1 counter, so a 1-mana 2/2. Very nice card. Let's slam in with the crack shot here. I'll take the trade if they are cool with it. With this Echo of Dusk, because later in the game the Echo of Dusk threatens to be a giant lifelinker, which is an issue. Not giant, but a 3/3 lifelinker is still big enough to eat the crack shot without dying. Ew, Bronodon. Play a 3/4. Well, there's a Deconstruction Hammer. So now I can make my Envoy a 4/4 and trade into the Brontodon, but they might use the Brontodon to kill our bricks or our hammer. Either of those trades is also fine. So we're just going to roll it all out here. Alright, cool. Get to trade the Envoy into the Brontodon, get that off the board. That is a trade up. Taking 1 damage, down to 21, and our opponent drops a River Herald Guide, which can put some damage in here, but a 3/1 is real bad against these 1/1 gnomes. I think I'm going to play the Tinker's Tote over the Cootseal here. That way, next turn, by playing Cootseal, I force our opponent to trade with a gnome, or they let us draw a card. Whereas if I play Cootseal now, I'm going to get rid of their Summoning Sickness, so next turn I can make them like a 4/4 and attack in, but then I'm not going to want to, because then they can just like double block and trade into them. Unfortunately, they have a 1/3 Death Toucher, which is just perfectly statted to block a 2/2 gnome. That is very disappointing for us. We'll have to wait till it's a 3/3, which won't be till we flip our bricks next turn. Join the dead. That is very rude. There goes the Exemplar. There's an Aquawali as well. If they get more permanents in their grave, that's going to become gigantic, basically. Eventually, I think we can't block it with more than one. Yeah. Gets to like 7/7 stats or something. Ooh, hey there, Warden. I can either flip the clay-fired bricks or play the Warden this turn. I think for now I'd rather flip the bricks. Only issue that could arise here is if they have exactly Skullcap Snail on top of their deck. Otherwise, I think if they had it in hand, they would have played it earlier. So they have to top deck Skullcap Snail to get rid of this Warden of the Inner Sky from our hand. It's like some kind of graveyard recursion, maybe. Maybe just checking their descend count. They're on 3 out of 4. Alright, as soon as they sack that Hidden Necropolis, they've got all the permanents in the graveyard they need to make Aquawali a 5/5 trample, and the Cave Crawler gets to be... well, it gets to draw them a card every time it attacks. I don't hate Staggering Size here. I don't love it either. But I will keep it, I think. Okay, I need to hold up some blockers, because they're definitely going to send in Cave Crawler next turn. Because they can crack the Necropolis, and then they attack with Cave Crawler, draw a card, trade it into one of our 2/2 gnomes. Deathcap Marionette is what they discover, which isn't excellent for them, because we're going to be bashing in the sky with this Warden. And a little 1/1 Death Toucher on the ground is not going to help them. It does mill them 2 more cards, though, so they're at 6 out of 8 for the Descend, which is quite bad. I'm going to send in both. Send in Aquali and the Cave Crawler. Yeah, I guess I can only block and kill 1 here. But we can definitely take the 5 damage. So let's kill the Cave Crawler. I've got more than enough mana to move this hammer around, so I'll just put the 3/3 on this instead of trying to like double block and just trade 1/2/2 into it. Because they're all just as big at base stats. It's just because this one has the hammer on it. Okay. Scry that land out of here. 6 damage in the sky a turn. That's a 3-turn clock. Do I buff again? If I buff again, I only have 2 2/2s up on blocks. I don't think I buff again. I guess I could have a 3/3 and a 2/2 up on blocks because I can move the hammer around. I'm not going to staggering size just for trample damage, but it might be reasonable. 7/7 that can only be blocked by 1 creature. If they don't have any interaction, I can block in staggering size. Win that fight. I totally forgot this thing has vigilance, so I should have tapped another one pre-combat, but I don't think it matters a ton because they blocked anyway. Ew. Death Touch Reach. That's super rude. Alright, so by buffing that Warden 1 more time, they don't get to attack in unless they have a trick here. I think I prefer this to having a 6/7 Warden, because if they have a 6/7, if we have a 6/7 Warden and they attack in with Aquali, then that like helps them hide a combat trick of their own that would kill our Warden. Because I really don't end up like blocking and casting Staggering Size and then they just have their own Staggering Size or something and we get absolutely destroyed. This way, if they attack with Aquali, we know they have a way to kill the Warden if we block. So we know not to go for the block if they do declare the attack there. But they do not. So I guess, in theory, we could just keep playing this game out until the Warden is a 20 power creature. Just staggering size it there. I guess it only needs to be 17 power since it gets the +3/+3, but I guess that's a thing. Looking for beef right now. 2 drops are not beef. Lands are not beef either. I'm going to keep this land in my hand in case they have a Skullcap Snail at this point. I think there's a reason to get an 8th land on board. Another chance. That's not good at all. Mill 2, pick up the best 2 permanents from their grave. Oh, just creatures, but still. What do they mill? Gigantic Lifelinker? And a removal spell? Alright, well, we're happy they milled the removal spell. Pick up the Cave Crawler and the Bronzodon. Okay, so they can blow up our Cosmium Kiln now. That's pretty good. Oh. Well, GG, I guess. I guess they just hate that they shut off their Descend or something? Or they just, like, had to go. I don't know. That was a weird timing for the concession, but I guess we take those. We'll start things off 1-0, heading into game number 2. Here we are for game 2. Bad mana, no castable spells in the hand. That is not keepable. Well, this is awkward. Double staggering size with a 1/1 gnomes. I guess it's something. We could eat up some 3/3s. Another green-black game. I've got a skullcap snail there. I'll ditch a staggering size, I guess. Keep a petrify, because they're likely to have some major beef later. Alright, Cloud Guard's a beautiful draw. Now we have a threat if we hit a 4th land. Don't do it to me. Don't double snail me. Okay, they're not going to double snail me. I don't love trading a gnome for a snail. I also don't hate it. And maybe it gets them to tap out of something during combat. I doubt it, but like maybe they do like a block staggering size, some really weird play. And then we get rid of that. But they don't. We just trade a gnome off. It's fine, we'll just immediately replace it. Soul Coil Viper. Dead weight. Alright, well. Hey, a new threat, let's go. Axe draw it is then. I could petrify the Soul Coil Viper so it can't sack itself to reanimate something. But they're definitely not reanimating a snail, so unless they have the land cycler in hand, if they have the forest cycler in hand and they go forest cycler reanimate, we do kind of just lose. So maybe I do need to petrify this thing. I guess we attack in, because staggering sizing it is better than petrifying it. Okay. Just take the turn off to play around them like forest cycling and then reanimating that, because it would be a 5-5 and a 3-3 on this board. Should just be very bad. I think I should probably generally keep Tinker's Tote on board until we like need the life gain because of our tapper kind of cards. That's interesting. We're basically just playing a creature either way. This way it's like playing a haste creature. Turn a 1-1 into a 4-4. Boom. Haste creature. I have cast the Axe Draw with haste by sacking a 1-1. I want to think about it that way. Twists and turns. Well, that is going to matter once they have 7 lands, but not really until then. They could get to explore a little bit. If they hit a non-land, that'll be sad. Because then the spider's a 4-5, but they hit a land. I guess hitting a land is still good for them because it gets them towards the 7 to flip the twists and turns into the Mycoid Maze. Don't you final strike me. They did it. They didn't listen. How rude. Probably attack in here, right? No. They'll hold the spider back to stop 1 damage rather than dealing 4. I guess they are firmly on the defensive here. Here is Pathfinding Axe Draw. Find the Malamet Exemplar. Let's go. We've got a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, so if we can connect with the Axe Draw, then the Kutsil is going to draw us a card. Brave Ruin, exile the Axe Draw, fair enough. Drop the Exemplar and pass now. They already know about it, so it's not like they're gonna run out of removal for it if they have it. Six out of 7 lands for twists and turns. Starting to look like a game where twists and turns is going to flip and they're just going to stabilize and out card advantage us here. Another chance. Pick up. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely losing now. They got the 2-for-1 off another chance. Now the 2-for-1 off Skullcap Snail. The Soul Coil Viper is going to pick up. Oh, they didn't mill any big creatures. Never mind. Soul Coil Viper doesn't matter too much, but the Stalker's pretty insane here. It's going to be a 2-2 menace they can sack to kill something. Things are looking really, really bad. That was an incredible turn for our opponent. Iron Paw Aspirant. That's something here. That's actually a very good draw. But they could just trump with the Skullcap Snail. But we have to play it out like this to force a chump. There's the flip of the Mycoid Maze. They could draw another creature every single turn. They have to dump mana into it to do it, but they've got 8 lands, so that is not hard to do. A 5-drop Primordial Gnar, which is another 2-for-1. It's a 5/2 that when it trades off discovers another spell. Casts that for free. Dang, and the last unrevealed card in their hand was more removal deadweight for the Exemplar. Stones are so bad right now. 1/1s are not what we're looking for. You know, trading the Stalker for the Exemplar is not that bad for us at this point. This Exemplar's never getting through a 5/2 anyway, and they're just playing a 5/2 next turn. Maybe should attack all here if we think they are just going to go for the trade. I'm genuinely surprised they go for the trade there. Because Kutsil wasn't going to draw us a card that turn. We were just poking for 2. But maybe they didn't know that. Or maybe they're just playing super conservatively with their life total, which is fair enough. 2 mana away from Seed Stone's flip. Until then, we're doing a whole lot of nothing. Our opponent has a massive card draw engine with Mycoid Maze and Hidden Necropolis for an additional spell. It's one of those really disappointing, pretty frustrating games where, like, we've known for a few turns now that we're more than far enough behind in card advantage that we're just definitely losing. But it's going to take another 5 minutes to lose fully. We got to play it out, cross our fingers. Yep, they actually milled an incredible card this turn with the Marionette. Okay, well at least we're dying faster, I guess. Because they milled an Akwali off the Marionette so that they could actually reanimate just a 7/7 trample. Good hit there. That stuff all has tramples, there's like no point there. I guess I should have done 2 gnomes instead of a 1/2 and a 1/1. So I'd have slightly more toughness to use on a trampler later. Really doesn't matter though. I missed on the Mycoid Maze. We can trade this with their 7/7, but we're still monumentally behind with the Paleontologist now casting things from their grave every turn. I guess they actually don't have any dinos in grave, so technically not. I mean, we still trade with Akwali and then die to the 4/5 Trampler. I could kill the Colossodactyl and take the Akwali damage this turn. The problem with that is we're not even really killing the Colossodactyl because they can just recast it with Paleontologist later. But the reason to do that would be hoping to draw into our like deconstruction hammer to make our thing an 8/8. And I guess if they only attack with Akwali, then it's just trade with Akwali. They still have 10 cards left. They're not going to mill out. Could have held that to play around a Skullcap Snail, I guess. I don't think there really are any spells left in our deck that we'd want to just hold in our hand, though. I think anything we draw, we just insta-cast. A little sad timing from the deconstruction hammer. Even if I just let the Akwali through, we would have been dead by the time we drew it. So we wouldn't have been able to have it to make our card an 8/8 against their 7/7. Because we would have taken 2 more hits of 7 damage than we ended up doing. Now they've got the Tendril as well to just make hasty 7/7s. Yeah. I'm outie. Here we are now for game 3, currently 1-1. We desperately need to hit a white source, otherwise all we're doing is playing a 2/2. Even if we hit the white source, we're just like buffing it up or making some gnomes. I'm going to take the mole here for a 2-color hand, hopefully, and this is a 2-color hand, so we'll keep this one. Well, it's not really great either. There's nothing to sack towards the reliquary, so we'll ditch that. Alright. Get things going. Try to make sure this isn't our third, like, 0-3 or 1-3 in a row. Just been having a really terrible couple recording sessions. I think this deck's really nice, but we did get a brutal loss last game. Opponent stabilized hard. We just hit a bunch of 1/1s, really, against beefy blockers. Hopefully things start lining up a little better as we move into game 3. So far, things aren't looking great. Spyglass Siren is an excellent value play. They got a 1/1 flyer and drew an additional card off of it. And these draws are pretty rough. Petrify looks really weak right now against just 1/1s that already gave them extra value. And the staggering size is also pointless because their creatures are already smaller than ours. Our hand gets significantly better the more creatures they try to play, but for now, it's super awkward because there's no proactive plays. Well, now there is one, but we don't have the 4th land for it because we had to mulligan. We had not mulligan. We just had like this hand, but it was a 3-lander from the start. Cloud Guard would have been awesome. Still good, but it means I don't get to cast anything this turn, which is really bad. You want to be mana efficient throughout the game. Losing out on casting spells can be super detrimental tempo-wise. That is a ridiculously good card here. It's gonna make me lose a card no matter how I play this out. Either I lose my size or I lose one of the creatures. Let's lose the staggering size and then petrify the echo so that we're not putting it in their graveyard. Never mind. I still think I need to attack aggressively. I was hoping here that we would not hit the land, so this turn could just be spent on petrify so we don't put the echo in the grave, because putting the echo in the grave means that if they have another chance, which mills 2 and picks up 2 cards, they can pick up the echo and recast it later and get another 2-for-1. Turns another chance into like a 3-for-1, which is really gross. Okay. Double Petrify hit for 6 might be our best bet. Honestly. Have their life total. It's another black deck, which means that their deck is just loaded with 2-for-1s, and that's what it's all about. Graveyard Recursion, Chupacabra Echoes, those kind of loops. The longer the game goes on, the less likely we are to get anywhere. And we definitely petrify at least the Echo. I guess we'll just petrify the Echo, because thanks to Brawler giving Trample, it's not like the Siren's doing anything excellent here. It's just going to trade into our 1/1. Gore Stalker. God dang it, man, really? Of all the cards. Well, 1 and 2 it is. Opponent's down to 7, so it's not literally over, but there's a Call, which is basically like a 50 for 1. They're going to draw 2 cards every turn for the rest of the game. Not only are they drawing an additional card every turn, but they're drawing the best card of the top 2. They get their own choice. The treasure map is also at least a 3 for 1. It's going to draw them 3 cards, sacking the 3 treasures. I'm just cursed this week. I really am. Yikes. Probably have to petrify the Great Mistake. 6/4 Vigilance Menace. God, I want to Cootseal and Staggering Size so badly, but they can just block each 1/1, and then I don't do any Staggering Size, I don't draw any cards. So it's just Petrify and Cootseal. Because if I just play this and attack both, it's just block, block. And there's the Join the Dead. Flip the treasure map, which means they get treasure tokens, which means a Call triggers, and they start drawing extra cards off that. There's Braided Net. Opponent just casually drops Icy Manipulator on the board. I mean, it's something, but they're probably just gonna kill it. R.I.P. You just Chupacabra and kill the Warden with the Chupacabra, because even through a Staggering Size, that thing is doing like -10, -10 now. Yeah, good lord, man. Their 50th 2-for-1 Staunch Crewmate hits the board and draws an extra card while it does so. There's no... We're not getting out of this at this point. 1 and 2, heading into round number 4. Here we are on the play for game number 4. Let's full aggro it up here. Jam for 2, drop a 3/3. Try to get the 1/1 off this for the Reliquary later, I think. Or Iron Paw Aspirant works. We can sack the next copy of Aspirant. So Aspirant plus Reliquary can be our play, whatever turn they play something big. Green-white mirror match, let's go. It's a mirror match and we're on the play, that's a good start. Petrify's not great for us, but we're still ahead on board. I think the really disappointing part of that is the fact that we don't get to make 1/1s off this thing anymore. But now we can just Reliquary sacking the Envoy, I guess. Pretty sweet. Maybe I should have went 2-3 and 2-3 rather than going for damage there at that point, since we have another expendable card to sack to the Reliquary anyway. Still attacking, I like that. That's bold. That means we get more damage in. Draw into a Petrify. Let's Petrify the Axe Draw and save the Reliquary, because it does, like, exile whatever we're hitting. Just in case we need to kill something with a good passive ability, because this only shuts off activated abilities. Alright, Malamet Veteran. Hey, Petrify. Sure, do that again. One land away from flipping the clay-fired bricks, but we don't have the artifact to craft it with, because we couldn't make any gnomes here. Alright, there's a 2-2 and a 1-1 flyer. That's it. Hey, Cloud Guard, you are a beautiful draw. Gives us the gnome for the clay-fired bricks. Alright, trade staggering size for aspirants, fine. Now they don't have it to kill the Cloud Guard. I need this gnome on board, so I can't like go for a double block to kill a 2-2 here. Soaring Sandwing, that's pretty gross, but I've got the Reliquary for it. So block, exploring one of the 2-2s? No blocks here. There's the land we need to flip our bricks next turn, as long as we still have this gnome on board. Seeker of Sunlight, oh no, it hits the mythic Sovereign Okanekahau, which doubles up the additional power on their cards. So the card with 1+1/+1 counter will become 2+1/+1 counters, and so on. Not actually like super insane here, because they only have one card it's even gonna affect. So currently we're just like 2 swings with Cloud Guard and we're good. Although when the Guidewing dies, it does let another one of their creatures explore. So they'll have 2 creatures that the Sovereign can trigger. Oh, hello, my friend. Beautiful draw is beautiful. Speaking of beautiful draws, Jade Seedstones is actually horrifying with a Sovereign Okanekahau on board. That's like multiple counters on whatever they're putting them on here. Can they kill us? Because they get to give 2 of their attacking creatures trample, and this is about to be like 6+1/+1 counters because of the Sovereign. They attack all, give their 2 biggest creatures trample, and almost double up their power? I mean, that's their best bet here, just try to kill us. Oh, this is bad. I don't think they quite get there, but we'll see. So, stop 2 damage, stop 2 damage, stop 2 damage, stop 4 damage, stop 3 more damage. They're tapped out, no life gain on board, so we block with this as well. And then we just see if this is lethal. I don't think it is, though. Nope. So we get there. Just barely. Almost just completely destroyed by that Sovereign into Seedstones play from our opponent. That was very scary. But we are 2-2 now. Balancing things out to 50-50 for now, but we will need to win another game to be a 50-50 record out of this draft as a whole. If we lose the next game, then we're out at 2 and 3, which would be pretty disappointing for this deck, so see if we can't turn things around here heading into game number 5. Here we are for game number 5. We have 9 planes in this deck, and we're on the draw. We have 3 draw steps to hit a plane specifically. 9 out of 33. It's less than 1 in 3. Am I feeling lucky though? Really don't want to have the mulligan. And this hand's really nice if we hit the white source. I'm gambling on this one. This is definitely probably supposed to be a mulligan. This is one of these like human error, like human brain assigning logic to random events kind of things, where it's like, well, because we've been having to do some mulligans earlier and having bad luck earlier, we're bound to hit the good luck now. It's like, that's not how randomness works. It's still random what we draw into here. It feels like I'm due for a plains. And sometimes you are. Again, I generally don't know if that was correct. It's probably incorrect by a little bit to keep this hand. But if we hit the plains right on top, then this is a snap keep. We'd keep this 8-card hand. All right, and another land is another great draw here. Now we know we can cast the Cloud Guard on turn 4, and turn 3 we get to play a crack shot and put a hammer onto our current 2/2. Get in for damage. Alright, so they've got like Explore combo going on over here, where they make sure they still have counters all over their board. Ew, Battle Glyph's really good there. Wow. Put a counter on the Seeker and kill our creature. That's really nasty. Play a 3/3 crack shot or play a couple 1/1s. The 1/1s don't really do anything, so we just play a 3/3 crack shot. At least forces them to put another counter on the Seeker or Explore with it to hit us. They can use the Cash or they can use the Seeker. But if they use the Seeker, it has to be a non-land on top to get in. Alright. And now that they've dumped all the Explorer's Cash counters onto it, petrifying it might be pretty decent. Well, let's petrify that or the 5/3 that gives them mana every turn. Problem is this still gives the mana even if I petrify it. One mana away from casting Petrify and Tinker's Tote in the same turn? Or sacking the hammer and casting Petrify in the same turn? Guess it might be fine to Axe Straw here for mana efficiency, and that's still a big blocker against the current board. But I do really like the idea of petrifying that Seeker after they've stocked all those counters into it so that it doesn't actually die and put any counters back onto the Cash. We'll probably take one more hit from it though before we do so. We'll see. Let's see how this plays. They've got just so much mana this turn though. That is definitely bad. If nothing else, they've got a mana sink on board with Seeker of Sunlight. They can just explore a bunch. Even if they're flooded out in hand. Doesn't look like it though. They're looking at the hand. They're thinking about it. Ooh, okay. Jade Light Spelunker. How's it doing? Explore 6 times. Good rare is good. The hulking raptor into Jade Light Spelunker curve. It's pretty nasty. Pretty nasty. And now that is a 7/7, so I guess we're petrifying that one. So much for the Petrify plan on the Seeker. Does this get all the counters from the creature, or just one of them? Just one of them. Okay. That's nice, at least. Is it going to be worth it to decommission Hammer the Explorer's Cache? I don't know. Probably not right now. It's probably still better to play Tote for the turn. Their extra mana. This looks really bad for us still right now, though, because they have that mana sink off the Seeker of Sunlight. They just dump everything into that. Keep drawing cards. But I can actually block Seeker for quite some time. Instead of having to just go chump, 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 chump. Like I would have to do for the Jade Light Spelunker. I don't know, maybe we still should have petrified the Seeker just to stop them from drawing into all their lands. This is wild, though. Now they just have a 7/7 coming up that can get pseudo unblockability. We can't chump block it at all. There's an Oltec Cloud Guard. We're going to start poking them for 3 a turn and just praying. We hit some of our great cards. Our craft cards or our rare would be awesome. I probably should have moved the Hammer over to the Cloud Guard preemptively, so I have all of my mana open to do whatever I want this turn. Holly's Favor coming up for Trample and a Discover. Yeah. You certainly got it. So now we're trampling. Now they are trampling up the 7/7 to have an 8/8 trample. Or trampling up the Seeker of Sunlight. Probably just gain the life off the Tinker's Tote here and desperately try to outrace them in the sky. Got 7 power in the sky, so it could happen, but they're gaining 3 off the Kin Caller. This Hulking Raptor's been insane. All that extra mana throughout this game. Alright, not the best Discover, at least. There's the 1/1 or 2/2 here. Triumphant Chomp's a really good draw, though. God dang it. Stop. There goes one of our Cloud Guards. Now it's monumentally hard to race against an 8/8 Trampler, a 7/7, a 5/3, and a 3/3. I don't think I can block the Cavern Stomper profitably here. I can block it with Axe Draw and 4 1/1s. But then I have like no board left. I have 3 creatures left on board, one of which they kill with the Chomp. Oh my god. That's clutch. That's awesome. They decide not to attack here. Let's go. Clay-fired bricks is a good one. We flip that next turn. I have one 5/5 flyer left over. So they're gonna triumphant tromp whichever flyer has the decommission hammer on it, or deconstruction hammer on it next turn anyway. So we should put this onto something else for blocks. So I'll just put it on the extra. But yeah, they're gonna blow up one of the cloud guards. So I'm gonna have to spend the mana to move the hammer back around next turn anyway, if I just leave it on that cloud guard. Which means if I don't top deck a land, I can't flip the bricks and put the hammer on something. But again, I'll be having to spend the hammer mana next turn regardless. Reach Death Toucher off the top. Well, we can still maybe outrace that. Because these are about to be so much bigger, I think I take this hit and then go for blocks once these are all 2/2s. Okay, we can maybe outrace the Poison Dart Frog because we could find a staggering size to crack through it for lethal. So we're hitting for like 5 in the sky next turn if we hit a land. So if we hit like land and a staggering size, we can kill them. Okay, that's not a land, but it is not a bad draw. It means we're not flipping the bricks here. So we are definitely taking the card draw. And there's the land. So we're going to flip a Clay-fired bricks next turn, so any creature that hits them is going to trigger the Coot Seal. The Cloud Guard, 5 power. If I top deck Staggering Size, is lethal if I keep Deconstruction Hammer on board. But I'm tempted here. I'm tempted here to go ahead and blow up a Tali's Favor on blocks, so I can chump with... I guess I still can't chump with 1/1s and 2/2s, but I can chump with Axe Draw here. Or Envoy. And then I can, like, Crack Shot to get the Cloud Guard in. Just chump attack with Crack Shot next turn. Okay, activate Seeker, another Dart Frog. I guess that doesn't really change things much. Still basically Staggering Size or bust. We get 1 attack in with Cloud Guard here. Okay, don't use the ability, please. They didn't use the ability. We love to see it. I'm going to blow up the Atali's Favor. We're going to soak up that damage, and now we flip the Deconstruction Hammer for the bricks. Keep all the rest of our creatures on board. I guess. Oh boy. Okay. Dang it, I guess it does matter because I don't have the mana. I don't have the mana to flip Clay-fired bricks and get the Crack Shot attack in here. I also don't have the mana to flip the bricks and cast Staggering Size, so what is my path to victory? It's chump attack with Crackshot here to get 3 damage in and put them to 5. Top deck the land. For the bricks, then I make Cloud Guard 4 power naturally, plus 3 is 7 for Staggering Size. They double block it next turn, but I still trample over for 5. Or if I don't hit the land to flip bricks next turn, I can still lethal them if they block with a single frog trying to get the death touch. I can't just like Staggering Size now for the card draw because I need to have it as a surprise lethal to get over the reach blockers to trample over next turn. So we're just going to make a 1/1 on blocks, just chump everywhere and try to Staggering Size over a frog for lethal, preferably top decking a land so that I can still kill them even if they double block with 2 frogs. Yeah, and Seed Stones is the next draw. It really looks like we have 1 turn to kill them here. We have to kill them off this Staggering Size. So land would be the best draw in our deck, because flipping the bricks means no matter how they play, we can kill them next turn. If we don't top deck a land, then we need them to not double block the Cloud Guard. Otherwise, they will barely survive at 1 life. So we'll attack with like all the creatures we have left next turn to hopefully spread out their blocks a bit. Get them to just single block the Cloud Guard. Send in the Stomper, send in the Kincaller. Get a 1/1, they can activate the Stomper. They're not going to activate the Stomper, though. They have no ways to get extra power on board right now. They're at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I take this all, then I think I lethal them no matter what. We just really need to make sure they don't have any tricks that like kill us, but they're empty-handed. Yeah, I just flipped the bricks even, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures on blocks. Block the 5 biggest. That's here, 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 here. Take 6. So go to 3. Flip clay-fired bricks and crack back for lethal, even without Staggering Size. Ooh, what a draw. Now, this is so easy. It's so definitely lethal. Again, I'm pretty sure they're dead on board, but now we have the Staggering Size to really lock it in. That is 6 damage. That is 4 damage. Oh wait, no, Kootsil's getting in. That's 8 damage. Okay. 8 damage it is. They don't have lifelink. Yep. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are golden. Okay, super close game there, but we find it by the skin of our teeth. We are 3-2. I have made it out of this pretty rough rut that we've had these past couple days, 0-3 into 1-3 in my last couple draft recordings. And I was getting really worried when we started this one off 1-2, but find some victories to turn it around, and now it's going to be at least a nice little average run from here on out at 3-3 as the worst possible record today. So we've turned it into a 3-2 run for now. Hopefully we can keep it up, win a couple more games, get some more gems back out of the event, but I'm pretty happy here. I'm happy to get out of the the 0-3 rut that we've been in and get at least a decent run this time around at 3-2. But see how it all pans out for us as we head into game number 6. Here we are in game 6 on the play. Nothing till turn 4 is really slow for this format, to the point where this might be worth a mulligan. Like 5 2-drops in this deck. 5 3-drops. I'm gonna keep, just really hope we can hit one of our 2 or 3 drops on curve to speed the hand up. It's a bit of a gamble, but so is keeping like a monocolored 2-lander, and we've done that before. We're looking for a very specific type of card, but it's a type of card we have like 10 copies of in the deck. 2 or 3 drops here, and there we go. Now we've got a Tinker's Tote, so we start things on turn 3, which is not that bad when we're on the play. Our opponent starts with that turn 2 Volatile Wanderglyph. Really nice, really flexible card. I'm going to go for the Envoy here, so if they don't have their own removal spell, we stop the Wanderglyph from getting in, letting them discard cards to draw cards. Soul Coil Viper is the play, and no attacks from the Wanderglyph. Hit land number 4 right on time. We get to drop an Oltec Cloud Guard down here. This might have been wrong to do, because I could just play like a Tinker's Tote and equip a Hammer to something. That way we'd play around a dead weight from our opponent. Luckily for us, they don't have a dead weight here. They could still have an Abrade to just blow up the Cloud Guard. But we'll play the Seed Stones now. We don't want to just put 3 counters on the Cloud Guard, because then we get completely destroyed by Abrade. I think I'm going to put 1 on each here. Maybe 2 on Cloud Guard. Maybe 2 there. Yeah, I think a 2/2 Gnome is pretty nice against 2/2s of theirs. Let's go 2 and 1 here. That way, if they don't have the Abrade, we still get like a lot of damage, put a really quick clock. But if they do have the Abrade, at least we still get something out of the Seed Stones. And they don't have the Abrade, they don't have the 2-mana instant speed removal. So Cloud Guard's looking great. Hey, Aclazotz. Just so happens I've got the perfect removal for that card, so let's petrify that right now. I just don't want to deal with that. I don't really want that in my life. I'm going to be mana efficient, drop a Tinker's Tote here. Because they're already on a 3-turn clock with or without the Hammer equipped to the Cloud Guard. And they're black-red here, so the odds of them having a way to blow up Petrify are really low. Color pair generally does not blow up enchantments ever. So Wanderglyph is searching for an out here. There's a Plundering Pirate. And a Saheeli. Ooh, so Saheeli could make copies of Aclazotz so they can gain a bunch of life? That is really bad for me. Create a token that's a copy of a target creature or artifact you control. It's an artifact with haste. So they make a copy of Aclazotz. Then the first one dies to the legend rule, so they have the Temple of the Dead sitting there. And the copy has haste, so they gain 4 life on the attack. And we discard a card. Or they draw a card. Oh my. Saheeli Aclazotz coming in hot. I can hit them for 7. if I play Aspirant and put the hammer on, put them to 3 life, then they gain 4, then we hit them for 7 again and they're dead. It's our best bet here. Hit for 7, hit for 7. That's enough damage to outrace their lifelink. Oh, they do need another blue source for the Saheeli anyway. So if they don't hit the blue source, they just die, period. Not gonna block. I don't want to kill that. I could block with a 1/1. If I kill the Plundering Pirate, they can Soul Coil Viper it back and get a treasure. And then with that treasure, they can use Saheeli. Alright. That was almost really bad, because the other thing I didn't consider is they don't have to use Saheeli at sorcery speed. That's instant speed too. So if we gave them the treasure by killing this Plundering Pirate, they use the treasure, duplicate Aclazotz on blocks, and gain 4. Although because it's a legend, it wouldn't be that bad for us. So usually, if you Saheeli on blocks, you can just keep making a copy on blocks every single turn forever. But since Aclazotz is legendary, they couldn't actually do that. They would make a copy on blocks, they'd gain the 4 instead of dying. But this would die to the legend rule, and they'd have the Temple of the Dead sitting there. But the Temple of the Dead, they'd also just immediately flip. Because I have 1 or fewer cards at that point. I don't know. Things would have been bad if they had another blue source. That much is for sure. But we get pretty lucky in that one. Opponent had some scary, bomby stuff, but didn't have the mana to do it. Really well-timed Petrify from our deck. Just solid stuff all around for us. And we're now 4-2, pretty much at the break-even point here, which feels pretty excellent. Here we are for Game 7. Pretty solid curve. Got the 2 mana 2/3 into the 3 mana 3/4. Those are big stat lines for the cost. Playing against a blue-white deck that starts with clay-fired bricks, so they've got excellent late game coming up. But we've got an excellent curve to start things off. Now we've hit a 4-drop to play on curve as well. The Cloud Guard. Best 4-mana spell in the deck, I'd say. Poke for 2. They're back down to 20. And here's the Brontodon. Alright. They're playing off curve here. They missed a 3-drop, which is great. Their 4-drop's pretty good, though, the Waylaying Pirates, to stun the Brontodon and to be a big enough creature to block the Aspirant. So no damage this turn. Just cast our Cloud Guard. It's going to let us be real mana efficient next turn, dropping a Petrify and a Tinker's Tote, which is pretty cool. Not that the Tote's doing a ton here, but the Petrify will probably be pretty nice. Yep. There's the target. Okay. 7th land's a little scary. Definitely getting into the flood zone here. If we hit any more after this, that is redundant. 7 is the top of our curve. So we're definitely petrifying the Cloud Guard. Are we attacking with Brontodon, though? I'd end up trading Brontodon into the Pirates because they double block with a 3/3 and a 1/1. I don't think we attack in then, because blue-white could definitely have some very reasonable targets to blow up with the Brontodon's sacrifice ability. Maybe even just blowing up the bricks turn 6 before they have the 7th mana would be fine. Although it's not going to give them any more flyers. And we could always blow it up after they flip it into the kiln. It's just if we blow it up after it becomes the kiln, they get to keep the 2 gnomes that it makes. That's 6 mana. There's a Benthasar to draw 1 card. Sad Benthasar is sad, because it can usually draw 2, as long as you've got 2 caves. And here's the flood, baby. That is pretty bad. If I sack Brontodon to kill the bricks, then I just... not blocking the Benthasar well at all. I don't know, this is just like damned if we do, damned if we don't. Bad position to kill the bricks, but also bad position to not be able to kill the bricks. Send in the Benthosaur. This is interesting. I think we just take it for now. I've got some good breathing room here. Still at 20. There's the hidden courtyard. And now a Benthosaur draw 2. Alright, opponent goes 2 for 1 into 3 for 1, and now we're really far behind. In card advantage. At least we can keep up mildly aggressively on board, but all they need is one removal spell to kill the Cloud Guard, and they're just infinitely ahead this game. By having a lot more spells to cast than we do. We've cast 5 spells all game right now. 6. We've also cast a Petrify. But that's it. We've cast every spell we've drawn. 6 spells and we're done. Out of gas. Alright, I'll get a little breathing room with these gnomes. Saving the Bronodon, so if they just have Petrifies of their own, we can keep the Cloud Guard getting in. That's real bad. 3/5 flyer, a 4/3 obviously does not get to attack into that. And that completely stops our aggro. Unless we draw exactly that. Now it's a 5/4 flyer. 3 turns will kill them if we can get it to hit them 3 times. Problem is here that I can't kill the Sandwing. So even if I blow up the clay-fired bricks to make sure that it's not a 4/6 on blocks, if I blow up the Cosmium Kiln, I guess, we'd probably wait for them to flip it. Even if I blow that up, they get to soak up the Cloud Guard damage for a turn, so it takes 3 turns for us to kill them. They can probably kill us a little faster than that. Can't block these Benthosaurs forever. Especially once they're 5/5s after they flip the clay-fired bricks. Yep. Sack 1 gnome, get 2 gnomes, get the buff here. I feel like we sack the Brontodon when they declare a block, right? With the Sandwing. So we can use it as like a trick. I guess we don't really have to use it as a trick. We could also just fog a Benthosaur and sack the Brontodon. Yeah, we probably need to stop more damage. Our opponent's probably smart enough to know that we can just sack Brontodon and kill Kiln if they go for blocks. And the block's still good for them anyway, right? It's not like we're like combat tricking them out of the game. If I kill the Sandwing, even if it surprises them, it would still be a good block for them because it means that they take another turn to die. Yeah, I need to actually just cash in the Brontodon for life gain here, basically. Block the Vanguard, that lets them sack their Oltec Cloud Guard to keep it around, but it does force them to do that. So they can't draw like a bounce spell to bounce their Cloud Guard and recast it or anything. I guess alternatively, we could take a good chunk of damage here to kill the Pirates. Let me think. These are going to be smaller than they look like. So Vanguard's going to be a 3/1, so I can put a gnome there, and that'll force them to sack the Cloud Guard. Pirates is going to be a 3/3, so a 2/3 and a 1/2 will do it, and they'll only kill one of those 2. Yeah, we block like this, and then cash in Brontodon. Probably cash in the Tinker's Tote as well. I guess they could sack the Kiln to the Vanguard. So they don't have to sack the Cloud Guard. Yeah, maybe just trumping 1 more point of damage by blocking the 4 power instead of the 3 power creature was better with the gnome then. I don't know why I didn't think of that interaction. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bit of offerings. Exile everything from graves. That's annoying. It's rude. Another tote. It's something. It's chump blockers. And life gain. If they take this, then if we can top deck staggering size, it's lethal. Alright, come on. We've got a top deck that'll kill our opponent here. If we can hit a staggering size, we've got 2 copies of it. Actually, any removal wins. We top deck any removal, and we just kill the Sandwing. So any removal or staggering size. We've only played 1 Petrify this game, so we still have our 2nd Petrify and our Dusk Rose Reliquary and 2 copies of staggering size, so there's 4 outs. They're buffing the Sandwing, though, with these map tokens. So staggering size is no longer lethal. So now it has to be removal, which is less likely. I guess we could still staggering size lethal. If they attack with both Benthasars again, we hit staggering size, we could just staggering size a gnome token. It feels like we only have 1 draw step to draw into the victory, no matter how we play. So I should probably play in a way that makes it so staggering size is lethal and just not block here. Otherwise, I go chump chump to stay at 15. Tinker's Tote makes it basically like 18, but then I'll have a single blocker up next turn when they have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 power. I guess if I do some chumps here, then it takes them 2 turns to kill me after this instead of 1, but if I do some chumps here, then my list of cards that can kill my opponent halves from my 2 removal spells and my 2 staggering sizes to just my 2 removal spells. So I think I want to play in a way that leaves me with 4 top decks that kill our opponent. And we can still maybe chump enough next turn to not die. That's pretty legitimate. Well, no, this isn't... not incredible. It's good. It's not incredible. Really just in the fact that it's not lethal. So we force them to chump with the Sandwing, and that's probably all we do, right? Because if I attack with everybody on the ground, they kill a 2/2, trade with a 2/3, put 2 1/1s on the 2/2. Yeah, the ground troops aren't really accomplishing anything. So we kill the Sandwing and pray that Cloud Guard sticks around for 1 more turn. If it can stick around for 1 more turn, we can maybe get there. Yeah, that was pretty good. That was probably as good of a draw as we could hit without hitting one of the 4 cards that was just instant lethal. So like the 5th best draw on the deck. Alright, Sage of Days lets them set up the top card of their library, so if they have any card draw, they can draw into that exact card if they hit something they need. If they don't hit anything they need, they can just mill 3. Put all of them in the grave. Uh-oh, they're keeping a card. That's probably not a good sign. So I don't think you would keep a card in this position without knowing that it saves them. They can crack the Hidden Courtyard to cast whatever it is. This is probably crack the Hidden Courtyard, get the flyer that's on top, or the Petrify that's on top, something like that. Petrify wouldn't save them, though, because we can move the hammer to a gnome and then blow up the Petrify. Still attack with a Cloud Guard, so it has to be removal that isn't just like a pacifism here on top, or it has to be a flyer on top. If they're going to crack the Hidden Courtyard and discover whatever they put on top with Sage. I think I need to just soak up some damage here so we don't randomly die to a combat trick. I don't think it's super likely we can play in a way to get lethal on the crackback on the ground, because we know they can at least make a 6/6 as a blocker, if nothing else. With that inverted iceberg. So we'll still have like 4 blockers up, even if they attack with the Vanguard. And I only have 5 creatures on the ground. Yeah, I think we're just blocking basically everywhere here. Resplendent Angel on top, which gets naturally drawn by the Kellen. That's real good for our opponent. All right. So go for the good blocks on the ground, take 4. We definitely don't die to a combat trick this way. We do take some damage, though. There is no combat trick, so we eat some creatures and still have 3 blockers on the ground. Yep, there's the Resplendent Angel, which luckily just has to chump at this rate. Which leaves us with that exact same list of 4 cards that immediately win us the game that we could draw into. It's a Glorifier of Suffering coming up. And they mill that. Play a tapped Cave. Plains is definitely not on the list of cards that lethal our opponent here. So let's kill that Resplendent Angel. I gotta keep hitting flyers or removal. I've had so many turns where if they miss, they just die and they just keep hitting. We hit pretty well with that Cosmium Kiln, so there's a bit of that to go around. The Deconstruction Hammer before the Kiln as well was pretty nasty. I've got way more than enough mana here. I should have moved my Deconstruction Hammer over. Just have slightly higher toughness, but mainly be able to instant speed blow up an artifact or enchantment if I need to. Oh, really? They didn't even scry that to the top. They just naturally had that one. Seems good. That's just yet another hit here to keep them alive. And we're at the time now where this is like our last turn, like top deck or bust at this point. Yeah, it's straight up like our last turn to hit one of our 4 outs. Gotta hit it here. That was really bad not putting the hammer on a gnome, because then we could have single blocked a Sage of Days with a 3/3 gnome and killed it here, which would have been really good. Now instead we're only soaking up the damage from it. Yeah, it's a yikes. It's unfortunate. It's not a smart line. I mean, I guess we play it out in case they just forget to click the attack button. That's so disappointing, though. Our opponent had to get a flying blocker every single turn, like 4 turns in a row here to stay in this game, and they did. That was just really excellent hits for our opponent, and we just had to also miss. They had to dodge our 4 insta-lethal cards 5 turns in a row, and they dodged those too. Alright. Sad way to end it. I think we did what we could for the most part. Could have played with the Deconstruction Hammer a little better in a couple of these turns, but wouldn't have changed the outcome at all. Did the best we could. Just didn't have the cards to get there. We are 4-3 to wrap up this draft. Really nice to go from 1-2 into 4-3, balance things out to a nice, decent record. We were having a real rough time with these last few drafts, but this one we're getting back to the standard, getting back to the average at the very least, if not trying to get on our way back to some 7-win runs. So I'll take it. Really nice turnaround. I think this deck was quite good. I would have been really, really sad to go less than 4-3 with it. So at least we got there. I don't think this is significantly better than a 4-3 deck on average. I think we definitely should have had a different secondary color than green. And the Tinker's Totes were kind of awkward here because they're only really good with the Warden of the Inner Sky. They're fine at prolonging the game a bit when you're jamming out with flyers like we were doing in that last game. But there were a lot of games where they were just pretty awkward, like 1-1s were just not that relevant. So maybe a different deck build, since we don't care about the totes that much, of like swapping out one of these totes for like a big 4-4 that can also pick one up from grave or something like that. Maybe swap one out for a gem guard, then we have more cards that care about all of the permanents we're getting there. I think we could have went for a slightly different build. Drop one Tinker's Tote for something at the top end, a Sandwing, a gem guard, an Archaeologist, or a Veteran. I think all of those would have been probably slightly better than triple tote. Those were a little bit awkward in some games, but for the most part, I think we drafted pretty well. We played pretty well. I don't think there was much we could have done to significantly change the outcome of this draft. That is just where the cards lie today. A 4-3 run for 1,400 gems and 3 packs. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching this video. If you're interested in seeing some more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.